Hello, everybody, and welcome to my One Piece arcs tier list. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I tend to find these videos really entertaining, even the ones without a lot of views. So I thought I would share my thoughts on my favorite anime manga series. I only started consuming One Piece in 2021 when I was sick and I had I was laying in bed a lot, so I thought I would give it a try. And despite watching a lot of anime and reading some manga beforehand, One Piece zoomed to the top as my personal favorite. So I figured I would just give my thoughts on each individual story here and put them in the tier list. I don't have a script. I'm just going to be kind of giving my thoughts as they come to me. So I'm sure I'm going to miss some stuff. But if you're here, thanks for tuning in. I've got some controversial opinions potentially. So if you don't like what I'm saying, write about it in the comments and we can talk about it. You know, you can roast me, it's fine, whatever. So what I did was I organized them. They weren't organized initially, so I organized them here. Um, so let's just start at the top. Or at the beginning. So Romance Dawn is the start of the series. And I'm going to be going from the anime's perspective. So, I know the manga is in most metrics superior, but I primarily consumed it by watching it. So I'm a weekly reader now, but you know. Romance Dawn is the first arc, and it covers the Luffy flashback as a child with Shanks. It covers Luffy on the boat with Alvida meeting Kobe, and then they go over to Shell's Town and get Zoro, and that's Romance Dawn. And I think that Romance Dawn is a very good start to the series. First off, the name is just fantastic, right? Um, uh, just like most people when they hear the word romance, they just think like lovey-dovey, kissy-kissy. But no, it's more about like the adventure and like Luffy's romance, like not knowing anything about the world and kind of just in a very carefree manner setting out uh, to this grand journey that he probably didn't even think was going to. Well, I'm sure he anticipated this, but uh, that extends through the page or through the screen to the viewer because we don't know anything about the world. All we know is Fuchsia Village, right, with Whoop Slap. So, you know, um, I think Romance Dawn is fantastic. It introduces Shanks, you know, fantastic character. And it introduces Kobe is one of my favorite characters too. Um, it's a bit short, nothing too amazing happens. He gives him the straw hat, very emotional. You know, why did Shanks get his arm eaten by the Lord of the Coast? That's neither here nor there, right? I mean, what we know now, probably should have just bodied that serpent, but it's fine. I'm gonna put Romance Dawn in the B tier because I think it's really good, and I think it's just a fantastic start to the series. Itch my nose, sorry. Um, okay, so after they leave Shell's town, they defeat Axe Hand Morgan. Zoro cuts down Axe Hand Morgan. After they leave Shell's town, they leave Kobe behind to join the Marines, and they go to Orange Town. And Orange Town is uh, Buggy the Pirate is based there with his crew, um, and all these tier lists I watch, man, all these tier lists, they always put Orange Town in the F tier, and I at first I was like, yo, yeah, Orange Town's bad, right? Buggy was just a mid villain, blah blah blah, but I went back and I looked at Orange Town, and I gotta say, Orange Town is underrated. I firmly believe that. I think that it's mainly carried by Choo Choo, the dog, and that story is based on the dog that waited at the train station for his master and never came back and whatever. But that got to me like right away. Like I got very emotional. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, dang. So I mean, Buggy, not the best villain. Obviously a goated character, but not the best villain. And the fights with Moji and Richie and Kabaji, you know, they're okay, right? So I'm not putting it down here, guys. I'm not. I'm gonna put it up here in the C tier because I think it's just in the middle. It's not bad, right? All you Orangetown haters, like, come on, guys, please. All right, Orangetown done. Also, they meet Nami, and Nami still has her ulterior motives going on. We don't learn about that for a while. So, um, yeah, I'm gonna say C tier. Now we're on to Syrup Village, and Syrup Village is one where I can agree with the haters because it goes on for so long. It's like 11 episodes, and it just doesn't need to be that long, right? Um, Usopp, I love Usopp. I really do. There's a lot of Usopp haters too, but I love Usopp. He's a cool guy. Um, and you know, all these like shonen like fans are like, oh, why did you invite Usopp to the crew? He's not strong. Blah 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 blah. But he doesn't need to be. He's Luffy's friend, right? And that's like what's way more important to Luffy. So Syrup Village, it's not very good, right? It's just not. Um, the I like Kuro because Kuro is the first. A friend of mine said this to me, and it made me think because it is true. Kuro is the first cunning pirate. Like he's the first pirate with like a head on his shoulders that's like actually kind of smart, you know. So I, and that's cool. Um, and I like what's his face, Django, and the Django's Dance Carnival OVA is fantastic. If you haven't seen that and you're a One Piece fan, my God, watch that. It's amazing. Um, but Syrup Village, it's gonna be in one of these two, right? I think I'm gonna leave it in D for now. But as we go along, I might, it might do one of these, right? So we'll leave it in D for now. Now, Baratie, this is when it zooms, right? Uh, Also, there's nothing for the Gaimon story, but it's S tier. Don't worry about it. Baratie is when One Piece goes from an enjoyable shonen to like it starts to heat up. It starts to really heat up here. Sanji, amazing character. Um, the setting is really good. Baratie, it's so creative with the restaurant. You get Sanji, we get Zeph, who he adds a bit of like old generation lore. He went to the Grand Line and all this. Um, who else? There's the lobster guy, right? The guy with the lobster cannon. He's pretty cool. The waiter. He's got the big forearms, kind of like Frankie. Uh, I like him a lot. We have Geen. Geen is a really cool side character, so underutilized in my opinion. And then I mean, Don Krieg's a shitter, but like, it is what it is, right? Um, the first moment in the whole series where I was like, man, Luffy's for real, is when he punches through the spiky shield. Don Krieg's like spiky cloak. Man, when he punches through that, I was like, okay, this guy's a boss for sure. Um, in Baratie, there's of course the biggest moment, of course, for the meta narrative is Zoro versus Mihawk. Mihawk makes him look like a joke. He says it. He says it best. I'm not going all out hunting a rabbit. And in that moment, Zoro really was like less than a rabbit. He was like an ant, right? He Mihawk was giving Zoro some credit by calling him a rabbit there. But he was impressed, and I really like the line where Mihawk says, "There's two lines that I really like. One is when Zoro approaches Mihawk and he says, I came out to sea to find you because I heard you're the strongest." And then Mihawk says, "What's your goal?" And he says, "To be the strongest." And he's tying his thing. Zoro's just such a badass. So, and then the other line I really like is after he defeats Zoro. He says to Luffy, "What's your goal?" And he says, "To be king of the pirates." And Mihawk kind of smirks and says, "It'll be even harder than surpassing me," which, now that we're in Endgame, that has been made apparent. Uh, so, Baratie, I mean, it's fantastic. Like, it really is just one of the best early arcs, and I'm gonna give it a comfortable A tier for sure. It's really good. Okay, here we are at Arlong Park. Most people consider Arlong Park an S tier arc, right? And in terms of the significance, and I didn't mention in Baratie that Nami betrayed the crew and it all, kind of spirals into Arlong Park. Um, in terms of the significance of Luffy beating such a powerful opponent in Arlong, and Nami uh, like her like the torment that she has endured and all that. Um, all of that is fantastic, right? All of that, it's the emotional peak of East Blue. But I gotta say that the fights in Arlong Park are garbage. They're garbage, right? So uh, Usopp fights Chu, and I kind of like that one. I kind of like that one because I like the part when he beats him, and he's so shocked that he beats him that he just keeps hitting him with the slingshot over and over again. That part's pretty funny, like right, and it's it's a big dub for Usopp. But the Arlong fight, like, tell me, if you're watching this and you're shocked by what I'm saying, tell me what you like about the Arlong fight because I mean it's okay. He the final move when he bites his leg and he kicks him down, it's it's kind of cool, but my God, I was so bored when he was in the water and he had his head up there. Like it just dragged on, right? And now I'm not saying Arlong Park is bad. It's fantastic, right? It's so good, but I might have to put it behind Baratie because Baratie didn't drag. When I was watching Baratie, I wasn't like, okay, when is this gonna like when are we gonna get to the good stuff? But Arlong Park, I felt that way when his head was above the water for so long. Um, yeah, so I mean, I might interchange these, right? But I'm gonna keep it like this for now. But what I will say is my favorite scene in all of East Blue, and it's an anime only scene, guys. Anime only. So manga lovers, think about this, right? It's the scene where Nami is in the house where she grew up, and she's got the big bag of loot, and she's talking to Belmare, and Belmare's sitting there, and the way that it's done is so perfect. There's no music. She's just speaking to her, and Belmare's kind of sitting there looking at her, all happy. And as Nami, Nami's like, "I'm going now. Like this is it. We're finally free." And she steps out, and Belmare gives her that push. That is like a beyond S tier moment. So it makes up for a lot of the kind of boring stuff, in my opinion, earlier in the arc. Um, Another good scene is when Arlong, like, rips Zoro's bandages. And he's like he has that look in his eye. It's like, how are you even alive right now? Because Mihawk messed him up so bad. But yeah, I'm gonna say Arlong Park is behind Baratie in the A tier. Next we have Logtown, and here's gonna be another controversial opinion. I think Logtown is like fantastic. Like it's like so good, right? Because it all starts when they're on the boat and Nami says, we're nearing the Grand Line now, and everybody's like, really? And when I was watching it, I was like, really, because I thought that the Grand Line was going to be something that they got to on like episode 200, not episode 60, right? So and it just like sparks that adventure sense in your brain like so hard. And when they get there, there's just so many good scenes. Like it's just good scene after good scene. Everything with Smoker. I love Smoker. He's the champion of L these days, but his introduction was so good when that little girl runs into him and she says, "Oh, my what is it? And he says, and like he gives her that look, and he's like so scary. And then he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, little girl. My pants ate your ice cream. Here, buy 5 scoops." I was like, this guy is amazing, and he smokes 2 cigars, and he's buff, and he's cool, right? Um, that part's amazing. When when I'm trying to like go in order here. When of course when Zoro is at the sword shop with Tashigi, and he throws the sword up and it spins and goes past his arm. Zoro's just the best, right? He's just the best. That's all. That's all I gotta say about that. And then I love how the sword shop owner, he sees in Zoro what we all see in Zoro, and he entrusts him with the. I don't remember which sword it was, but I know he gets the Katetsu, and then the other one that Yubashiri, I think. He entrusts him with the Yubashiri, uh, which I think is just so cool. Like having like feeling the destiny of another person, and like entrusting yourself wholeheartedly in that person, despite them only meeting once. And um, I like when Tashigi is at the academy and she makes Zoro work because of the glasses that he broke because he thought she was Kuina, and and he's doing the three mop style. That part's fantastic. Um, and then this scene might be anime only too, guys. So the anime has some fantastic moments that should not be slept on. It's when Luffy goes to that bar and he's talking to the old dude about Gold Roger, and the old dude sees Gold Roger in Luffy. It's supreme. It's just supreme, right? And when they leave, and they're going to the Grand Line, and how could I even forget? Dragon saves them. Sabo was at Loguetown. If you don't think that's true, look it up. Look up Sabo at Loguetown. It's in the manga. It's real. He was there. He didn't have his memory then, obviously, but insane. Uh, Dragon, we still don't know his power. Post Wano, we still don't know his power. Egghead Island. He has some sort of storm Zoan, maybe. I'm thinking it's like like a deity Zoan storm model or something. Thunder god, right? Um, point of the matter is, Loguetown, it's fantastic. I'm gonna put it in A tier above these two. It's my favorite arc so far. I think it has the best moments. I don't think it drags. I even like the anime only stuff with Daddy, the father, and Usopp, and then the cook off. That's a good episode. Um, Not as good as the canon stuff, obviously, but it's good. We'll put Loguetown right there. All right. Take a little sip of water here. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going, everybody. Okay. So we're done with the first saga. We're done with East Blue. This is what it looks like so far. We've got this upside down L shape. And next we've got Reverse Mountain. Now, the thing about Reverse Mountain is it's 3 episodes long, right? If that. They go up the mountain. Oh my god. Anime only, of course, but when Nami kills Eric the Whirlwind by kicking him into the water, love that part. Fantastic. Uh, rare actual death, because that guy is cooked, right? He's in pieces at the bottom of Reverse Mountain, or I guess up Reverse Mountain. Reverse Mountain is good. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not complaining about it. You meet Laboon, it's good. But it's also not, doesn't get you lit up or anything. So I'm just gonna put Reverse Mountain behind Orangetown. Like, it's good. I like Orangetown, so this is not bad. Yeah, we'll put it right there. It's good. You get introduced to Mr. Nine, who I think is a funny guy, and of course, who would later become Vivi. So one of my favorite characters. So that's cool. Um, Next is Whiskey Peak. Now, Whiskey Peak, it's a tough one because Zoro versus 100 bounty hunters is fantastic. I like how they just dismiss Mr. Five and Valentine, like they're nothing to Luffy and Zoro. I like, oh yeah, there's the reveal of Crocodile, there's the reveal of Vivi, and there's the introduction of Nico Robin. So it's tough, right? It's tough. This one, I can't put it too highly. I really can't, but I also can't put it in like D tier. So I think I'm gonna put it here for the lore implications of like Crocodile and Vivi and Robin, just above Orangetown. I think that's a good spot for it. Okay, so now we've got Little Garden. Now I think Little Garden is really good. There's a few scenes that I want to highlight because I don't think it's the best like consistently, but there's a few really good scenes. One is when Sanji picks up the snail and talks to Crocodile and says, you've reached the damn restaurant. 11 out of 10. And then the other great one is when Zoro, it's going to cut his legs off to get out of the wax, and he inspires Broggy, and Broggy's like, I've lost my spirit, boy. You've kind of, reinstated that into me. Little Garden's good for those 2 moments. I think I'm going to put it above, above Orangetown in the C tier, like right here. Oh, oops. Yeah, that's good. That's a good spot for it. Okay. So now we're at Drum Island, and so uh, Robin, who we currently know as Miss All Sunday, gives the eternal pose to Alabasta to Luffy, and Luffy says, you know, you're a mean lady. You killed the saxophone guy, and he crushes it because he's a cool guy. Uh, oh wait, no, that was in Whiskey Peak. My bad. So on Little Garden, they manage to get off Little Garden, um, and Nami gets sick. She has some fever from the jungle of Little Garden. So very powerful scene when uh, very powerful scene when Vivi foregoes going to save her kingdom in order to get Nami help on Drum Island, right? Fantastic moment. Really sort of gave me the Vivi boost. You know, I like Vivi a lot now after she does this. Um, they get to Drum Island, and there's some great moments. There really are some great moments. There's this one picture of Usopp with the hives on his face, and Vivi is making a really funny face at him. I like that part. I like obviously when Luffy climbs the mountain with Nami and Sanji, and his fingers are bleeding, and it's terrifying. Goated Luffy moment. One of the most underrated Luffy moments of all. And before he starts to climb the mountain, when he comes up on the gigantic bunny rabbit in the snow, and the kid bunny rabbit is kind of like acting all scary and stuff. And right when Luffy approaches him, he kind of hides because he's a little baby, and Luffy just saves his dad or his mom, and so emotional. Wapol sucks. He's an idiot. I like his cover story, but he's an idiot. Um, and Drum Island is the first time that we learn about Blackbeard, because apparently Blackbeard sacked Drum Island and kicked Wapol out, and then Wapol came back. Um, I think. Oh, and you know, I mean, the Chopper's backstory here. A look. Uh, when does a man die when he's forgotten? All of these things are fantastic, right? And Drum Island is A tier. Let's not get this twisted. Drum Island is A tier. Where am I gonna put it in A tier though? It's not as good as Logtown, but is it as good as these? For now, I'm gonna say it's not as good as these. I could see this. I really could see this, but we're gonna leave it here for now. And at the end, I'm gonna look at this and rearrange if I need to, right? So this is what we've got so far. Going into the main event, the Alabasta arc. Now, Alabasta is when I fell in love with One Piece. It's just the truth, right? All of the political intrigue and the meta lore about the poneglyph, and Robin and her strife, and Crocodile and the Seven Warlords and Ace. Oh my god, it's fantastic. It's going here instantly, but I'll talk about it some more. Um, let's see here. The scene, the rain dinners scene when they are in the casino, all of that part is 10 out of 10. Mr. Prince, Sanji's best fit to date, in my opinion. There's maybe one that rivals it, maybe one or two that rival it, but when he's got those orange glasses on, man, he looks like such a Chad. Um, Alabasta is just fantastic. It's the first time that the Straw Hats, it's the first time that they have like a real threat. You know what I mean? Like Arlong, whatever about Arlong. Arlong was strong, but you think those other fuckers were strong? No, they weren't, right? Like Chew BTFO, right? Um, but Alabasta, it just has it all. It's so like classic, the classic feel of it, and all of like you feel Vivi's like heartache personified throughout the whole thing. You're rooting for her so bad. Um, I really like the scene where, and it's not because Luffy punches her, but I like the scene where she punches Luffy and Luffy punches her back and says like, you know, why are you putting all of this on yourself? Why don't you know, stack our lives against this as well? And that's when Vivi realized like these guys are for real. These guys are really going to help me save this country. Um, the fights are all fantastic. There's literally not a single bad main fight in the whole thing. Um, you know, when Usopp has that speech after getting his face broken, his skull cracked, about how that's the one thing I won't let you laugh at, Luffy being the king of the pirates and stuff. Um, uh, Sanji versus Bon Clay, you know, maybe not the best fight necessarily, but Bon Clay in general, I mean, Bentham, right? Like, what we know now, just beyond S tier character. Um, he and then who else do we got? Nami versus the porcupine lady. When Nami's foot goes through the and like the thing goes through her foot, I was like, oh Jesus, because um you know, Nami like hadn't fought anybody yet, so it was like really hype to see her like, you know, go so hard to get the dub. Um, uh, they all broke their limits. You know what I mean? They were all so hurt after the conflict. Um, Zoro showing off some really early indications of observation hockey when he is like beaten down and he's like, I feel, you know, and he, oh, it's so badass when he takes the sword and he kind of brings it against the grass but doesn't cut the grass. So good, right? So Alabasta easy S tier. The freaking silent goodbye, the shock reveal that it's Robin that joins, not Vivi. It's just one of the best. It's the first like truly goated arc in the series. All right, so now we're on to Jaya, and so they leave Alabasta with their new crewmate Nico, Robin, Miss All Sunday, and they go to Jaya, and they land at Mocktown, and in Mocktown, it is currently being kind of occupied, pseudo occupied by a pirate named Bellamy, and Bellamy is just a total asshole. Bellamy the hyena. His name fits him. You know, he really laughs at Luffy for saying he wants to go to Sky Island. You know, the ship falls out of the sky, and they learn about Skypiea because they find a map, and you know, he gets like laughed out of the room by Bellamy and his gang. Um, oh my god, I hate Bellamy's like right hand man so much. The guy with the white hair, he's such an asshole. Like he's like such a screecher. I hate screechers so much. Um, and he gets laughed out of the room, and the best scene, we all know this scene, we all know how important this scene is to One Piece, when they leave the bar and Blackbeard is there. We don't know it's Blackbeard, but Blackbeard is there, and he, you know, Blackbeard first gets introduced with the cherry pie scene, fantastic scene, but after all that, he's outside the bar and he's sitting on the ground, and he says to Luffy, you know, don't listen to them, uh, some dreams, like, you know, a man's dream will never die. Like these, this new era, all of these pirates, Bellamy, all these people that don't have dreams, like they're not going to make it, right? They're just not going to make it. But you know, Teach and Luffy, they're gonna make it because they have these dreams, and the fact that they're, you know, exactly polar opposites on the spectrum, but they both have these, they both have the winds of fate guiding them. They're both, you know, in the D clan, so they both have the winds of fate guiding them. And even though they're complete opposites, you know, Blackbeard's like the most like Marshall D. Teach is like the most evil person, right? He's just such a scumbag. But some things, I think Grand Line Review might have said it like this or something, but some things, they just go beyond that moral like quandary, right? It's not all about good and bad. Like the, the idea that a man, like what a man's dream is just so like integral to their existence that it is beyond good and evil. It's above good and evil in terms of importance. That scene's fantastic. They meet Mont Blanc Cricket, who really ties into the next arc big time. And then there's just the massive lore dump right at the end, right before they leave, or like as they're leaving. There is uh, Shanks contacting Whitebeard through Rockstar, who I think Rockstar's a really funny character. He's really goofy. But it is to be noted that he had a 94 million berry bounty, even though he was a complete rookie on the red hair crew, which kind of hypes up, you know, Shanks, right? Because, you know, this guy's a nobody, but he has a bounty that's almost as high as Luffy after Alabasta. And so he tries to contact Whitebeard. Whitebeard's like, he can come see me if he wants to see me, right? Um, and then we learn about Blackbeard. We learn that that's Blackbeard and his core crew, and then there's the meeting at Mary Joie we see Dofi and Kuma for the first time. They come in, Mihawk pulls up, Sengoku's there. It's just like such a I think it's episode 151. It's like so overwhelming how much stuff they just tell you about the world, and he just opens it up like crazy right there. And of course, right when he opens it up, we have to go to Sky Island, but that's fine. Jaya is fantastic. I'm gonna put Jaya. Do I like Jaya more than Romance Dawn? I do. I really do like Jaya more than Romance Dawn. Do I like Jaya more than Drum Island? No, I don't. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna put it top of the B tier, right? Because the lore implications and the Bellamy one shot KO is fantastic. It just shocks everybody. And then the guy that I mentioned that I really hate, I don't even remember his name. He's such a shitter. He's got the glasses and the white hair. He's like, "What are you looking at?" And Blackbeard just like actually just probably kills him, just slams him into the ground and kills him. So fantastic. Jaya, strong B tier. All right, everybody. It's time to get to probably my most controversial opinion that I have. Well, maybe. I think Skypiea is amazing. Like, it's so good. Here's what I'll say. The middle of the arc is not as good. The fight with the priests, that stupid fight with the ball guy goes on for like 4 episodes. It's not very good. When Luffy's trapped in the snake, it's not very good. Enel, if this wasn't a shonen and we had to keep the characters alive, Enel would have killed Sanji and Usopp, right? I'm foregoing all of that. I'm putting all of that over here because if all of that wasn't around, it'd be an S tier arc. But because of all that stuff, it does knock it down. But Skypiea is fantastic, you guys, right? The sense of adventure is just elevated. It's like you feel like you're on this adventure like massively. Like when they go up and there's the old lady at the gate and they pass through onto the white sea and Usopp jumps off and almost dies. I remember that first time you see that attack from Enel, you're like, this isn't even like from a person. This is like just some destructive natural force, but it turns out to be Enel, who has the strongest devil fruit ever, but is an idiot, so he wasn't very good with it. But I just love Skypiea. The adventure aspect of it is so good. I love, oh my god, the Noland flashback is so good for me. I love all the folklore with Noland and Calgara, and the fact that Cricket is a descendant of Noland, and Noland never knew what happened to the island, and Cricket never knew what happened to Calgara never knew what happened to his good friend, right? It's just so emotional. And my favorite scene is one that is not talked about enough because it's fantastic. Is when Robin sees Roger's words on the poneglyph. That moment, like I was in disbelief because my God, like the implications of that are just so insane when you don't know a lot about the world. It's just like so crazy to me. Skypiea is A tier, you guys. Like I know it's not that good. Like it is good, but I know there's a lot that's not that good about it. But it's just that good. Like it. If you like it, if you're about the folklore, if you're about the setting, if you're about the villain, if you're about the final fight with Enel, if you're about the Roger lore, if you're about all of the things I just mentioned, it's in A tier at least. And I'm gonna put it. All right, go ahead and crucify me. I'm putting it right here. I think it is fantastic. I think that I was really satisfied watching it. Like at the ending scene when he rings the bell and Cricket hears the bell, understanding that the words of his ancestors were actually true. Like he confirms it. It's one of the best moments. So A tier, right behind Loguetown. I'm a Loguetown simp. I won't deny I'm a fanboy of Loguetown. So I'm gonna put it right there. All right, you guys, here we are. Here we are at Long Ring Longland. All right, Long Ring Longland is bad. It's just bad. I'm putting it right down here because it's bad, right? Do I think Foxy's at least kind of funny? Yeah. Do I think Afro Luffy's pretty cool? Absolutely. But it's shit, right? I didn't enjoy watching it. I liked some of the Zoro Sanji moments; those were pretty funny. But it's shit. It's F tier. It's probably the only F tier. Yeah, it's the only F tier. So it's down here for a reason. Um, of course, right at the end, Kuzan shows up, and then it gets real. But just that alone doesn't sell it. So down here in the F tier comfortably. Okay, we're here. We're here at Water 7. Now, for those that know me, you know that Water 7 is my favorite arc by a pretty wide margin, right? So, before we even start talking, right here and right here, right? Get that out of the way. Water 7 to me is when One Piece became my favorite. It's when I realized that Oda was capable of drawing out emotions in me that other series in the past have not even been able to come close to, right? Um, so it starts. I'm gonna just go through a summary because I love this arc so much. It starts with Kuzan, and Kuzan says to Luffy, "That woman, Nico Robin, is going to be too much for you to handle. She's she ain't loyal, right?" And when you hear that, you're like, "Nah, Robin's cool, right? Like Skypiea, she was chill, she was so cool, right?" Um, and then um, they get to Water 7. I love the train station with Kokoro and Chimney and Gombe. I love that train station and Yokozuna. That little location, I love it. Um, they, make friends with Kokoro, and they go to Water 7. And she recommends Iceberg. We just think Iceberg's some dude who turns out to be the most important person in the city. Water 7 is the best location in the series. It just is, in my opinion. It's perfect for me, like in terms of the setting and oh my god, the side characters. The side characters. Name a bad side character in Water 7. You can't. You just can't, right? All of the shipwrights, all of the townspeople, all of the villains that we learn about, it's all perfect. There's no bad characters. There's no like fluff. There's just not. Um, and Water 7 kind of has this like moody feel to it because of the Aqua Laguna, the big storm that comes through. And oh man, I could talk about this arc for hours. I'm sorry, itchy nose. Um, so they get there, and there's the fight with Usopp because Usopp, and so many people shit on Usopp for the way he acts with the Mary and stuff, and he's so stubborn. But you have to put yourself in his position, like the crippling inferiority that he feels being on such a strong pirate crew and not really being able to contribute. And he was helpless. I mean, they were all helpless, but he was mentally helpless against Kuzan, and he was physically helpless against Frankie and the Frankie family when they stole the money, and he just felt so useless. So Luffy versus Usopp makes perfect sense. Uh we all knew Luffy was going to win, and it was very emotional. That shot with the Mary crying, like, oh my god, and oh my god, it all goes back to freaking when Usopp saw the Klabautermon on Skypiea. That turned out to be the Mary that was fixing the boat. So, boat fixing itself, right? They took good care of the Mary. It was one of their crewmates, and so all this happens. That he fights him, and the way that the Water 7, it's so perfectly written because it's the way that all of the bad stuff stacks on each other, right? So at the start, uh, oh no, we can't fix the ship, right? That sucks. Then Robin goes missing. Where did she go? And then the money gets stolen. Oh, that's not good. And then Usopp versus Luffy. Okay, that was tragic. We lost one of our best friends. That really sucks. Um, and then after that, Iceberg gets assassinated. That's really sad. Luffy had a good relationship with him. It was Robin that did it. Oh God, the Aqua Laguna is coming. Oh God, we have to get away from here. Usopp has no idea about it. Really cute scene when Sanji and Chopper go and let him know. Um, so it just stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks, and um, and it all culminates in that bedroom when it is revealed that it's the shipwrights, right? And there's a couple scenes there that made me like, oh my god, they're in over their heads so bad. Um, when Tilestone, the big yelling guy, brings the hammer down, and Bluno just puts his fist out, and the hammer just, he just breaks the hammer. I was like, oh god, this is really bad. Um, what else is there? What else? There's so much to talk about with Water 7. It's the best arc. Um, Frankie's backstory, so emotional with Tom. Um, I have a weird feeling that Tom might still be alive. That's kind of a crackpot theory, because I mean, we now know that Saul is still alive, so anything's possible. Um, that backstory is really emotional. A small moment that I really like is when the CP9 agents go to Frankie's hideout, Tom's workers place, and when Bluno fought the Straw Hats, we were like, "Oh God, this guy's insane." But when Frankie grabs his head and lifts him up, I was like, "Oh God, Frankie's really scary." But then Lucci kicks him, and it's the control is back in their favor. Um, I I have to shorten it. I have to stop talking about it 'cause I could talk about it forever. Um, this isn't even important at all, but I'm going to mention it. Uh, well, first the scene where Iceberg is like, talking to Nami, and he's like, "Well, what are you gonna do now? It's over." And she's like, "Over? This is like when it starts." And that's the Straw Hat mentality right there. It's indomitable spirit. Um, but the part that doesn't matter that I love is those two train conductors that think that Polly and Nami are in a love triangle. Not important. They get on the sea train. Oh my God, when Luffy pushes the buildings. Okay, when they get on the sea train, um, some funny characters. I like Jerry a lot, the tall boxing guy. He's pretty funny. Um, we start to see that Luffy and Zoro have really leveled up in terms of their strength. Luffy actually demos Gear 2 against the Frankie family, but we don't really know that at the time. Um, and they take this no brakes train to the government judicial island, one of the biggest government headquarters in the whole world, and it's just the symbolism, right? Just the insane symbolism that Robin was like, and we don't know why Robin's doing this at this time. Robin's like, I'm leaving. Like, goodbye, Luffy. It was nice being with you, but goodbye. I'm gone now. And like, Luffy just like refuses to accept that. So they go literally to hell to get her back. Like, they go to the ends of the earth to save her. For one woman, right? They could have just left her behind. They chose not to. They chose to all put their necks on the line, and it's just so emotional. It's just so emotional, you guys. When, uh, okay, so I'm not going to spend too long on it, but a couple scenes. Um, one scene is when he's fighting Bluno, obviously Gear 2 reveal, mega hype, but the part that I really, really like is when it's right at the end of one of the episodes, Bluno says, how long do you plan to keep fighting, Straw Hat Boy? And Luffy kind of gives this like really serious, but like he's like smiling big, really serious kind of evil, like, you know, intention. And he says, until I die, right? And it's like, oh God, he's for real. He's for real. And he beats Bluno, and of course, best scene in the whole series. I'm just gonna come out and say it. It's the best in the whole series when they do the walk to the edge of the building, the tower, and they look up to the Tower of Law, and Robin finally, you know, and this is when we get Robin's flashback, super emotional flashback. Kuzan, you think he's kind of an asshole, but he was doing his best, and clearly now he left Saul alive, so he was doing his best in that situation. We learned about Sakazuki a little bit, and he killed all those refugees. Oh my God, it was emotional. And when she's crying in the boat, Darishishi, my God, right? It brought me to tears. It really did. And when Spandam is like laughing, and Luffy kind of has that face, and he gets like really scared, and they shoot the flag down, and she, that's the peak, right? In my opinion, that is the peak of One Piece. We might see a peak in the final war like this one, but I don't think there are many good peaks after. But nothing compares to the scene when they're standing on that bear, like the what would the word be, the battlements, and they're looking up at CP9 and Spandam and Robin finally lets it be known that she doesn't want to just get executed. She wants to live. She wants to sail with the Straw Hats. And that scene right there it's when the whole thing goes from being like a really complicated sort of multifaceted problem that is like really difficult to solve. And when she admits that she wants to live to the Straw Hats, suddenly it's just beat the bad guys, and then it's like, this is awesome. Like it's go time now. It's happening. We're saving this woman, and they do. And the fights here finally surpassed the fights in Alabasta. It took what 200 episodes to get there, but all of the Straw Hats have amazing fights here. Amazing fights. The only one, a lot of people like Nami's fight here. I actually think I prefer Nami's fight in Alabasta, but all of the other ones are just so fantastic. Frankie fighting Chapapa, good. When he spins and slams him. Chopper's monster point is so terrifying. They disrespect it so hard in post time skip. When he revealed, I was like, oh my god, is he going to be able to kind of come back to himself? And eventually he did. But yeah. Who else? Who else? Sanji versus Jabra, really good. When Zoro uses Usopp or King as who's Usopp? When Zoro uses King as a sword, and then he goes into Ashura 9 sword style and defeats Kaku. Sanji defeats Jabra, uses Diablo Jambe. Who am I missing? I think that's it. And then of course, maybe the best attack in the series, the final Jet Gatling to save Robin and to defeat Rob Lucci. And I like how Rob Lucci kind of had his like own little agenda. Like he like didn't necessarily stop Luffy because he wanted to fight him. Lucci's flashback is really intense too when he kills all those soldiers. Oh man, he was like 14 years old. That was intense. Lucci's a bad man. He's a scary man for sure. But yeah, it's the best arc in the series. It's the best saga in the series for sure. There are many later that come close. There are many later that are fantastic too and are S tier too. But spoiler alert, these two are staying right here the whole time. There's nothing beating them. Oh my god! And one more thing. After the final, I'm not gonna describe it how I describe it sometimes, but after the final Jet Gatling and Luffy can't move, the way that you're just so hyped up and you're so relieved that Robin's going to be okay. When the Mary comes to save them, and let's go back to the Seas of Adventure, like it's like almost too much to handle. Like you're already like at this emotional high from the victory at Enies Lobby, and then they just put that in there, right? And it just ties it all together in such a beautiful like circle. It all comes back around to the Mary, and the Mary saves them, and they have the funeral, and it's so very emotional, right? Another tearjerker. Cements it as 11 out of 10. Favorite arc in anime for sure. I mean, Chimera Ant and Hunter x Hunter way up there too, of course. But Enies Lobby is better in my opinion. But 1 and 2. So post Enies Lobby. This one slept on. People don't really talk about post Enies Lobby very much. It's very short, but my god, the lore, right? We finally see the meeting of Shanks and Whitebeard. We get to see Conqueror's Hockey in full effect. He knocks out all the rookies on Whitebeard's ship. We see that. What else is there? Garp obviously shows up. We learn that Kobe is now a Chad, or Chad in training. We learn about Vegapunk through Kobe. Nami eavesdrops. We learn that Blackbeard defeats Ace, which is the catalyst for Marineford. We learn about Dragon, the guy we learned that that's who Luffy was saved by at Loguetown from Smoker. We learned that Shanks is one of the 4 emperors. We learn about the 4 emperors. Oh my god, right? Like, come on. We learn about Garp too. The lore dump is immense. It's immense, right? And for that reason, okay. And there's also the episode where they go around the world and they show everybody's reactions to Enies Lobby. And the one that's so important to me, it's so emotional, is when they go to Kokoyashi, Nami's village, and Gem, or Gen, I don't remember how to say it. He remembers those words that he said to Luffy. He said, if you ever hurt her smile, if you ever take that smile away, I'll come and kill you. And the bounty poster is Nami looking all sexy, and she's smiling big time. So it's just like such an awesome tie-in right there, right? And he like looks relieved that Luffy's keeping his promise. Post-Enies lobby, top of A tier. It's allergies are so bad. It cracks the world right open, right? Takes the world is a piggy bank, and he just hits it with the hammer. Oda does. So it's got to be A tier, top of A tier. Spent 15 minutes on Enies lobby alone. All right. And there's so much more to talk about. Oh my god, it's ridiculous. Okay. Let's take a deep breath. Take a deep breath here. Thriller Bark. Now, after Enies lobby, I knew that it was going to be very hard to top it. And I knew that whatever came next, I was probably going to be a little bit underwhelmed by. Because it was just so good. It was the best thing I'd ever seen at the time. So it was going to be hard to top it. But what I didn't expect was this slapstick, Halloween-themed island with the worst villain, and the jokes didn't land for me at all. They didn't land, and I just don't like Thriller Bark, you guys. I'm sorry. It is not good for me. I like the end, of course, because nothing happened, and I like the episode where Brook is finally, he finally feels free, and Luffy's laying on the piano, and he asks him, Brook's like, I'm crying, but I'm not crying because I'm not a robot. That's Egghead Island. I'm a skeleton, so I'm not crying. Oh my god, my nose. Those two scenes are good. Well, nothing happened, so. But those two scenes, S tier. High A, low S tier. But the rest of Thriller Bark, Gecko Moria, and Nightmare Luffy, and Oars, I don't give a shit. I don't give a single shit about any of that. It's down here, you guys. It's down here. Well, we'll put it above. Well, for those moments, I got to put it somewhere, right? I had it here, and then I instantly go up here. It's hard to rank. It's got two goated moments, but the rest of it's bad, in my opinion. The Ryuma fight's cool, too. We should say 3 moments. But fuck Absalom, fuck Hogback, shitty characters. I don't give a shit about Nightmare Luffy 2. How irrelevant is that? This is the only one I've had trouble actually figuring out where to put. There. And we're going to put it there. B tier is being really generous, you guys. It's just for nothing happened and for the Ryuma fight and for Brook feeling relieved. That's the only good parts. Yeah, but it's better than all these because of that. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. Now that we're through shit, we are arriving. Is it? This pains me. Having it in B tier pains me, you guys. I'm putting. We're doing this. We're doing this one. We're doing that. We're doing that. That's what we're doing. It's got to be above Whiskey Peak because Whiskey Peak's kind of like a nothing art. Well, no, we're doing this. We're gonna do this right now, and we're gonna get back to it later if I want to change it. Sabaody. Now Sabaody, length for greatness, might be the best arc in the whole series, right? How long is it? 10 episodes? The amount of crazy shit that happens on Sabaody is unreal. They get there, celestial dragons. I immediately blank, right? Celestial dragons. Luffy punches a celestial dragon. We learn about Rayleigh. We learn about the supernovas. We see Kizaru. we see Kuma, we see the pacifistas, we see Sentomaru, we see Rayleigh fighting Kizaru. The scene in the auction house when he punches him, and then oh my god, the entrance of Rayleigh when Rayleigh busts through, and then you see the giant just peeling back the walls. I was like, oh man! And when he like when you just get that title card when he zaps Disco with the Conquerors, and then it says like right hand man of the Pirate King. It was just going down so hard, right? Like it's so good. And then of course the heartbreaking separation of the Straw Hats, another tearjerker. A lot of tearjerkers here in the 300 to 400 episode range. Sabaady's S tier. It's S tier. It's going to be behind these. Sabaody is an introduction story. It's not a full grand tale like these two are, but it is amazing. Like it's amazing. And the scene where it's such an impactful scene where Luffy, Law, and Kid are standing there, and the rooftop in Wano. It's like the genesis of this. This is like when we see them like burgeoning into the next generation, and then it all comes to fruition in Wano. Sabaody, S tier. It's fantastic. Straw Hats get separated. Very emotional indeed. And I like the part where Kuma says, goodbye, Straw Hat Luffy. We will never meet again. And you think he's like being mean. You think he's like an evil guy when he says that, but no, it's because he is the one doing all of the sacrificing in that scenario. That's why Kuma's the GOAT. All right. Okay, so here we are at Amazon Lily. And here's what I have to say about Amazon Lily. It's underrated, right? Most people, Amazon Lily's shit. Amazon Lily's D tier. Amazon Lily's F tier. It's just not. It's just not any of those things. Amazon Lily is really good because of a few reasons. One, I think it actually works surprisingly well as the start of like the Luffy solo story. I like the island. I like Boa as a character. I think she's really funny. I think I think the fact that the first time she kicks the puppy and the seal, you're like, I hate this woman so much. This woman needs to die. And then when she's leaving to go to Impel Down, she does it again, and you're like, yeah, go Boa, right? Oda manages to turn that around amazingly. The best part is obviously the Colosseum, and the best part of the Colosseum is this is one of the best scenes. Like, I might make a top 10 scenes in One Piece, top 10 moments, and this moment is 100% way up there on the list. It's when Luffy asks Boa for a ride, and Boa says, I can either give you your ride, or I can turn Margaret back to a human from stone. And she's expecting, like, she says, like, revert to your nature, man. And Luffy, like, bows his head and says, like, okay, great, turn them back now, please, And that moment, I mean, Boa's worldview is just like completely shattered, right? Like beyond recognition. So, and then you learn her awful backstory, and Oda can't really go into it because it's like kind of like a teenager show, like kids to young adults show. So you can't go into all the horrible things that they did to her at Marijua, but as adults we can put it together, right? Like my God, Amazon Lily, I'm gonna put in B tier for sure. But where in B tier will I put it? I think I'm gonna put it at the top. Yeah, I am. It's at the top of B tier for me. I think it's a really solid arc. I mean, is there amazing hype fights or anything? I mean, when Luffy when he one shots the guard dog, that seems pretty cool in terms of a fight. And when he uses the Conqueror's Haki, he just has Conqueror's Haki like that. Insane, right? 1 in a million people have it. They said, the only person I've ever seen to have it is my sister Boa. And then when they pull on his dick, right? That part's pretty funny with the family jewels. He's like, "What's this mushroom?" And she's pulling on it. If that was any of us, it would have gotten ripped off. So count your blessings, Luffy. B tier. Okay. And now we're getting serious. Now we're at Impel Down. Impel Down. My camera doing this. Can I turn it off and back on? My camera's blurry. One sec. There we go. So Impel Down is fantastic, right? It's fantastic. It it takes you to a parody prison of Dante's Inferno with the different layers of hell, and it's like, and you ever notice how there's no sentencing? There's no sentence times in Impel Down. If you go there, you will die there, right? And uh, each layer is like worse and worse and worse as you go down, and all of the criminals of the One Piece world go there. It's a very obviously like you're very encouraged not to be a pirate because you're gonna end up in Impel Down, and it's so messed up. It's underwater hell. Um, but despite the easily the most grim setting of the whole series, it is one of the most fun, hilarious arcs in the whole thing, and we get this awesome like callback cast of all of the amazing characters. Um, Buggy, uh, Mr. Three, um, Galdino, Mr. Three, um, Crocodile, right? Crocodile comes back, and oh my god, the way Crocodile says it's been, Sashiburi da na Mugiwara. The way he says that is like, oh my god, it gives me chills. Um, and then of course, much more important than all of these other characters, is the goat himself, Bentham Bon Clay. It's cold in here. Wrap up. Um, the goat himself, Bentham Bon Clay. Um, he steals the show when he fights the wolves to protect Luffy. Another top 10 moment. Absolutely another top 10 moment would be on my list without a doubt. Impel Down's fantastic. It's one of the best arcs. I'm hesitant to put it in the S tier. I'm gonna put it in the very top of A tier because it's just amazing. Bon Clay sacrifices himself. Blackbeard shows up and gets one shot by Magellan. What was that about, right? Like, you're underestimating Blackbeard so hard after that. Impel Down, A tier. It's a top of A tier, borderline S. I would say A plus for sure. Okay, and now we're at the cream, the pinnacle, top of the mountain right here with Marineford. And now Marineford is the consensus best arc in the series. I can't argue. I really can't argue that much. It's fantastic. Um, the I mean, if I talked about everything that was good, I would talk about every episode. So it's hard to do that. A few moments that I really like are as it's starting. I like when uh, it's panning around to all the places in the world. By the way, that bald guy with the glasses might be Scopper Gabon. Not confirmed, but potentially if he doesn't actually have a role in the series later. And, Final War. Um, I'm thinking. So yeah, when it's panning around to all the world and we see that guy who could be Scopper, we also see these two dudes in the North Blue. It's like snowing, and they're trying to buy booze, and the guy says like, if the world's still here tomorrow, I'll sell you alcohol, and that's when you're like, oh my god, okay, this is gonna be ridiculous. Um, the war is fantastic. We see all of these amazing moments, like combat feats, right? And we just see like it really does like a really good job with the power scaling. Whitebeard, obviously the strongest person there. Um, the admirals are decidedly below Whitebeard, and Whitebeard's commanders, being Marco and Jozu, are like they're not like death battle on the level of the admirals, but they are very much competent and they're very much able to hang with the admirals in combat, as we saw. Um, I mean, freaking Jozu makes Kuzan bleed, which is like insane. Um, Mihawk has that speech in the middle where he's like, or that kind of inner monologue, that revelation where he's like, Luffy is one of the weakest people here. He's like looking around at everybody's like, all these people could beat Luffy in a 1v1. But the thing is, he doesn't need to win because he has the most powerful ability of all, which is like charisma, which is like, you know, getting people to your side kind of thing. So he, Mihawk just kind of has that poignant observation. Um, Doflamingo's speech about whoever wins this war becomes justice. What a hard quote that is, right? Um, uh, Kobe taking a stand at the end, um, like standing in front of Akainu and saying, this war has gone on long enough. It's just innocent, like it's just pointless casualties at this point. Um, Shanks saving him. Shanks, stealing the show, obviously, at the end there. I'm here to end this war. He's so cool. He's so, so cool. Um, the, what else is there? I had a couple more things to talk about for sure. Um, Blackbeard showing up, the 11th hour appearance of Blackbeard, and he kills, he finishes off Whitebeard and takes his fruit. That's one of the most, like oh fuck moments. It's probably the biggest oh fuck moment, or one of, maybe the most in the, I don't know, one of the most oh fuck moments in the entire series. Like, this guy's gonna be trouble, right? This isn't just some bumbling idiot who dies to Magellan anymore. This is gonna be a real problem. Um, I'm gonna put, and so here's where the controversy is, right? Most of you would expect this, or maybe even this. I'm actually gonna put Marineford here. I'm gonna put Marineford behind Enies Lobby and Alabasta. Now the reason for this is I just prefer them. I prefer Enies Lobby and Alabasta as more. They're more personal stories. You know what I mean? Like Marineford is just a beyond amazing display of Oda's world building and all the culmination of the world building that he's done, and it's fantastic, right? But aside from Ace's death and Luffy's like agonizing despair on the battlefield, it's not really personal to the characters that I had grown to love at the time. I like all the characters, obviously, all of the cool pirates and stuff, but it it just doesn't like strike as much of a personal chord as these do, as as Luffy, you know, liberating Vivi like of her like sorrow, and then I mean Enies Lobby to me it just doesn't even compare to Enies Lobby. So I'm gonna put it here. It's one of the best arcs by far, right? Obviously, I can't dispute this. It has so many amazing moments. Um, but yeah, I think it sits comfortably right there. And now we're into post-war. So post-war is the flashback, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I kind of get the events of this section right here a little twisted, but post-war is the flashback of, it's when Luffy is on the island with Jinbei and Jinbei and Boa and Rayleigh, and it's also the long flashback of Ace, Sabo, and Luffy. And here's the thing: I like that flashback, but I also don't, because I like what it does for the story, but I didn't really like it like as it was happening. Like I don't like the part where that inbred dude beats up Luffy. That doesn't feel like One Piece at all. Like why was that even a thing? I don't really understand why Oda put that in. Um, Ace was shown to have Conqueror's Haki as a kid. Why didn't he use it at Marineford? Why didn't he use it against Blackbeard? There's just a few things where I'm like, huh? But the scene where Dadan beats up Garp, oh my god, that's one of the biggest tearjerkers for sure. Thing about Post Wars though, I just don't actually love it that much. I really don't. Um, I'm gonna put it like here. Yeah, that's actually, I think I like that spot for it a lot. I'm gonna put it there. The scene where Shanks and Marco are standing over Ace and Whitebeard's grave, very emotional. That's a good like computer wallpaper. Um, yeah, that's a good spot for it. I don't hate it, but I don't really. I'm not gonna like sing its praises or anything post war. Um, okay, so Return to Sabaody is very short. It's 6 episodes, and it's when the crew, we're at the time skip now. This is now post time skip. The crew reunites on the Sabaody archipelago, and we get to see their cool new abilities. We get to see that Robin is now white, and I guess that's because she was on Baltigo with you know Dragon for 2 years. I don't know how that hasn't come up yet in the series. Like he was with Luffy, she was with Luffy's dad for 2 years, and she hasn't even mentioned it. Huh? Right? Um, the scene with the fake straw hats. I like the part when Luffy's walking with the mustache and he zaps Damalo Black, just zaps him with the Conquerors, zaps everybody with the Conquerors. Amazing. When he dodges the Pacifista beams, amazing. It's good, right? It's just good. It's a good intro. Zoro cuts the ship that he accidentally gets on. All of this is great. Once again, I'm not going to sing its praises. I'm not going to say I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest arc of all time. But it was a good it was a good way back in my opinion. I'm gonna put Return to Sabaody in the B tier, and I'm gonna put it I'm gonna put it here. I think that's good. I think Jaya has the world building of Jaya is like insane, and the Bellamy punch and stuff. So I think it just etches out this a little bit, but it's respectable. You know, it's above post war. It's above Romance Dawn. It's got a good spot here in the middle of B tier. Okay, so the next three are my other controversial opinions. So getting into Fishman Island, I know most people really don't like Fishman Island, and I see why. I think objectively it's one of the worst arcs. Like you can't really argue that, right? Like Hody Jones is the worst villain. I never thought I would say there was a villain worse than fucking Gecko Moria, but there definitely is, and his name is Hody Jones. Hody Jones is terrible. Um, and I don't really like the side characters at all. Like Neptune and his kids. Like I don't give a shit about them. I like Charlie. She's cool. Fortune Teller Lady. She's cool. Kamie's cool. Papagu is cool, right? But like whatever about all that, right? The one thing that I like about Fishman Island is the flashback. The flashback with Otohime and Fisher Tiger, to me, is really good. And I think that a lot of people don't like Otohime. A lot of people are like, oh, she should have just, killed Mulesguard or whatever. But I don't see it that way at all. I think that it's like a really good example of like civil rights and like, um, not bending to violence. And she was just such a powerful like force of diplomacy that I'm just admiring so hard. Admiring Otohime's resolve. So because of all that, it's one of my favorite flashbacks. It saves Fishman Island from the dredges. I'm gonna put it into C tier, and I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier above Thriller Bark, because I like that flashback more than anything in Thriller Bark besides Nothing Happened and Brooke's Satisfaction. So it's there, it's in C tier. It's not. I mean, obviously it's shit, right? Like most of it's shit. So it should have ended when Zoro cut him underwater, because Hody Jones is just fucking terrible, terrible character. Nothing to like about him. Even Wapple's better. I like Wapple a lot more than Hody Jones. Um, and now we're on to Punk Hazard. Punk Hazard is such a weird one. I think Punk Hazard is the most weird one because there are a lot of like amazing moments, right? When Law lifts the boat up with Smoker, when Law cuts the island, when Virgo goes like full hockey mode, when Smoker and Tashiki swap bodies, that's really funny. When Luffy defeats Caesar, when there's just a lot of good moments when Doflamingo is revealed. Um, but at the same time, I don't like the setting. I like the lore of the setting of the you know Admiral battle, but I don't like the setting, and I don't really like what happens. It's like a weird thing where there's like good moments, but I don't really like what happens. Um, Yeah, I'm gonna be really controversial here, you guys. I'm sorry that this is just how it is, but I'm gonna put it like here. I think that Thriller Bark just has those moments that I've mentioned that I think elevate it to where it's at, and Fishman Island just has a really good flashback. Like Punk Hazard doesn't really have anything that makes me like amazed. You know what I mean? It doesn't really have anything that I'm like amazed by. So I think like C tier is like good for it. It's not terrible. It's not terrible at all. Nothing in C tier. None of these are terrible. Um, Dressrosa. The final controversy, I think the rest of these you guys will kind of back me on maybe. But so as an anime watcher, Toei lobotomized Dressrosa. The manga, I read some of the manga. I'm like, this is just a million times better, right? But as an anime watcher, my God, was it bad at times. The the Rebecca flashback over and over and over and over and over and over again, and even more so from a conceptual standpoint, manga included. I think there was too many characters. I didn't really care about Dellinger. I didn't really care that much about like Cavendish and like Don Shinjao and all these characters. Like it was Oda's first attempt at like a mega arc, but it just kind of lost me. I don't like Rebecca at all. I think Rebecca's a really bad character because she served no purpose. Robin literally just babysitted her for the second half of the arc, and that was it. And she's just kind of like she's living in Vivi's shadow. Vivi is the princess of the story. It's not Rebecca. for how strong she was said to be. She didn't do shit in the arc. So forgettable. Um, Doflamingo's crew was really bad. Like they weren't very strong. Uh, like Pika was like okay, and like Diamante was shit. Sugar obviously had such a broken ability, but she was stupid. Not stupid as a bad character, but just mentally stupid. Um, and then of course, I mean, the best. I know this is going to maybe be really controversial, but by far the best part of Dressrosa for me was Senor Pink and his backstory. That was the only time I like cried. Like I was, and I think it was because it came out of nowhere. I was not expecting it from the baby man, but he's top 10 characters now easily for me, and he single handedly adds some points to the arc for me. I like Doflamingo. I like Law's backstory. Rocinante was a goat, you know, all these things, right? But at the end of the day, I just don't like it as much as the other big arcs. Dressrosa, and I know that's probably really controversial to say. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Dressrosa is their favorite," and I respect it. I do, especially if you're a manga reader. I respect it. But I'm gonna put Dressrosa in B tier. I think. Am I? No, 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 no. I just lied to you. I'm gonna put it in A tier. But where in A tier? All right, all right, you guys. All right, you guys. Controversy incoming. Here we go. I'm gonna put Dressrosa here. Maybe here. See how that looks. I have to look at my handiwork here. Yeah. Yeah. Uh yeah, that's better. I like Skypiea more. I do. I like definitively I can say with certainty I like Skypiea more than Dressrosa. I was much more invested in Skypiea than I was Dressrosa. Dressrosa, the stakes are higher. Well, are they though? I mean, it's to be determined, right? Fujitora is amazing. Uh, two separate points there. Fujitora is amazing. Doflamingo's a great villain. Not my favorite villain. I like Crocodile more. I like Kaido more. Yeah, so I'm gonna put it right there. It's good. It's good. I think it has a lot wrong with it though. I'm not gonna lie. All right, and now we're on to Zoe. Also, Dressrosa has big implications for Kaido, which I think is cool, and Wano and all that. Um, and now we're on to Zoe. What do I think about Zoe? I love Zoe. I think Zoe is a fantastic arc. I think that Zoe, um, it it reaches the adventure high of Skypiea. A big credit that I give to Skypiea is how much I feel like I'm on an insane adventure, and I think Zoe reaches that, like close to that feeling for me. And the Raizo is safe moment is very emotional. We see a member of Kaido's crew with a billion berry bounty. That's insane. Oh, it was like a billion. Oh my god, right? Because we had just beat Dofi, whose bounty was frozen, and it was frozen at 340 million. So three times that. This guy's got to be insane. Little did we know that Dofi probably slams Jack in a 1v1. Whatever. Um, but I love the adventure. I love Raizo is safe. I love that it's kind of a segue into the Yonko saga. Zoe's going to be A tier. There's less wrong with it than freaking Dressrosa. I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it higher than Dressrosa. Man, do I think Dressrosa is actually A tier though? Gear 4 reveal. What do I like about Dressrosa a lot? What do I really like? I like Fujitora. I like Gear 4th. I like King Kong Gun. I like Senor Pink. I love Senor Pink. I like I like when Zoro cuts Pika. Pretty cool. Do I like anything else? Sabo, obviously, the Sabo emotional moment when Luffy meets him again and takes the Maramara. All right, you guys, here I go. Here I go being controversial. We're going to put it there, I think. I can't justify A tier. I just think there's too much wrong with it, in my opinion, obviously. All of this is my opinion. Okay, so, but yeah, Zoe is good. Zoe is really good. Let's not mince words here. Raizo is safe. Neko and Inu's struggle, emotional. Uh, it just segues into Wano so perfectly. We have Whole Cake Island first, of course. Now, Whole Cake Island, I think, is the best post-time skip arc. I really do. It has my favorite character, Katakuri, definitively my favorite character in the series. I love the man he became for his sister and for his family and to protect against Big Mom. I just love the character. I love his character. He's so like he's like admirable, big time. I know he killed those chefs or whatever, but put that to the side, please. Whole Cake Island, easy S tier. Where am I going to put it amongst these though? I'm either going to put it here or here. It's tough, right? It's really tough. I'm gonna leave it here because there's certain moments that I don't like as much. The Luffy fight with Cracker is pretty cool, but it's not, it's not all that. Um, and the Big Mom chase at the end is just kind of lame in my opinion. So I'm gonna put it here. I think Marineford beats it just for the hype, but Luffy versus Katakuri is my favorite fight in the series. It really is. Snake Man, Jet Culverin, Black Mamba, and Luffy not winning through strength, but through changing Katakuri's mind and changing his worldview and his perspective, and understanding that there's more to just raw power and more to just um, ruling through terror like Big Mom does. It's amazing. I was almost just going to gloss over the best part of the whole thing, which is Sanji's second backstory. Oh man, when Sanji's outside the room and he hears Pudding. I know Pudding was being manipulated, by the way, but I still haven't forgiven her for that. The way that, if we're looking at it from Sanji's perspective, the way that manipulated Sanji's mind and he couldn't light his cigarette. Oh my god, I felt so bad for him. Oh my god, Sanji is such a good character. He's a better character than Zoro. I'm just gonna say it. Do I like Zoro more? Maybe. And we're gonna get into that in Wano, but that's just because Sanji's just had so much more exposition, right? He's so good, and it was so emotional when Luffy says, I can't be the king of the pirates without you. Like, jeez. Uh, S tier for sure. Two more to go. Here we go. So, Reverie. Reverie. Reverie is the biggest lore dump in the series. And it's like near the end, which is insane. It's the biggest lore dump in the series next to Post-Enies lobby. And, we just learned so much. Revolutionary incursion. Or I guess invasion, not incursion. The big straw hat. I'm hesitant to talk about Eam yet. I want to talk about Eam in detail. The big straw hat. We learn about this more in post, but all the stuff that happened with Cobra being killed. But okay, let's just get to Eam then. I can't think of anything else. Let's just get to Eam. That reveal of the Gorosei kneeling to Eam, who sits on the empty throne, that was the biggest WTF moment of the whole series for me. Easily. I was like, huh? You know what I mean? Like, it was just like so shocking to me. And the batshit theories you can come up with just from that scene alone and the big straw hat and all of this stuff. Oda is just a master for that. Like, that's one of the most like masterful Oda moments in just like making your brain like rapid fire theories in your head about just what it could possibly all mean. And post Wano with the Leloucia nuke and all that, it just Eam is my number one mystery. I'm just gonna say it. Even more so than the One Piece. Well, I'd say that those two are tied, but more so than the Will of D, because I know it's gonna be connected to Eam. It's all connected to Eam. Eam Sama. Reverie's amazing, right? We see Lucci and Stussy and Kaku CP0. That's become insanely relevant in the recent chapters. By the way, this video is being recorded with 1073 as the most recent chapter. So Vegapunk just disappeared. What does that mean? Reverie's A tier. It's really high A tier too. I'm gonna put it. This is tough. Because does it have amazing personal moments or anything? No. But the lore implications is ridiculous. I'm gonna put it. here. I'm going to put it there. I think that's a good spot for it. The implications are just too grand to ignore a high spot in A tier. Yeah, we're doing that. Alright, we've come to the conclusion with the Wano Kuni arc. So, it goes without saying that Wano is the grandest story that has been told yet, besides for maybe Marineford, but you know. So much happens in Wano. I think that, personally, I think it drags a little at the start, like Act 1 and stuff. The end of Act 1 is really good, but I think some of Act 1 really drags, if I'm being honest. But it's still good, it's still fantastic. When Luffy and Kid are in the prison together in Udon, when Luffy trains with Hyogoro, I think, is that someone else? I don't know. He trains with that old dude and learns the Ryuo Haki. Fantastic. I would say that Wano before Onigashima is like maybe high B tier, but when they get to Onigashima, I mean, it shoots right up to S tier, obviously. All of the just batshit fights, they're all just so good, right? Roof Piece, I mean, it's going on right now in the anime, and the animation is just popping off ridiculously so. I can't wait for 1044 to be animated. You know, Chapter 1044, the reveal that Luffy is actually Sun God Nika and not a Gomu Gomu Rubber Man. Biggest reveal in the series. Most hype I've ever been consuming it, I would say. Yeah, I would say even more hype than Water 7, just in terms of that word itself, hype. I was just taken so aback by this reveal, right? And Luffy defeats Kaido, which, you know, we never thought was going to happen. Kaido was such a beast. He took on like 10 people at once, fought for days, held up Onigashima. He was such a beast. There's no way anyone beats him in 1v1, besides maybe Gear 5 Luffy, but I'm not going to talk about that. Like in a fresh 1v1, you know. Kid and Law awaken their devil fruits and defeat Big Mom. They both get sent into lava. Yamato shockingly does not join the crew, which at first I really didn't like and everybody didn't like, but I mean the reasoning that she gives makes sense, right? You can't leave all of Wano to Momonosuke, he's not very strong. Green Bull shows up and then gets scared by Shanks. So Wano's fantastic, right? Has some of the best fights in the series. Zoro versus King and Luffy versus Kaido are the ones that come to mind, obviously. And I've got to give a shout out to my favorite anime episode in the entire series, episode 1015. If you haven't seen 1015, if you're a manga elitist and you haven't seen 1015, watch 1015. It blows Chapter 1000 out of the water. It's not even close. It's the start of Roof Piece when they're facing down the Emperors. And Luffy, you know, Red Rocks Kaido. Amazing episode. Just I've watched it like 10 times. It's just so fantastic. Here's the thing about Wano. I think it drags at the start, and I think that it has a really rushed ending, partially because of Film Red, and Oda's mind was kind of split between these two things. And I think all of those factors kind of drag it down a little bit. I'm going to be honest. Where am I going to put it? So, sorry I didn't talk about Wano as much. I'm kind of tired. Maybe, you know, maybe I'll make a video on it. I don't know. I don't know how many of these I'm going to do. We'll see. Here's the thing. Wano is either, it's here, right? Like, this is my placement. This is my placement for it, right? But is it going to be here or here? You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm going to do here because Gear 5 is amazing. It's my favorite transformation in anime. The fights are amazing. You see the two strongest characters get defeated. You see the changing of the guard at Roof Piece. You know, you just see all these things that it's all been building to this, right? Like, Roof Piece is like the second peak of One Piece. The first peak was Marineford, the peak of pre-time skip, and Roof Piece, you know, the conflict with Big Mom and Kaido on the roof of Onigashima was the second peak of One Piece. So, for those reasons, despite the rushed ending, I'm putting it in S tier. It's fantastic. So yeah, there's my tier list. Read them and weep, baby. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments if you're watching this. I don't know how many people are going to watch this, but we'll see. And for the record, I would put Egghead, probably put Egghead here in between Impel Down and Post-Enies Lobby. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a fantastic arc. It's mostly setup though, you know what I mean? Like there hasn't been really too many insane things. Luffy went into Gear 5 against Lucci, which was really cool. Stussy betrayed CP9, CP0, which was really cool, but it's all building, it's all building. Law versus Blackbeard, Garp coming to Blackbeard, all of these things, Kid on Elbaf, you know, all those things. It's all set up for the final war, which is coming soon. And you know, if you're hearing me say this, we should consider ourselves lucky for being on this ride right now because this is like a once in a lifetime kind of manga. You know what I mean? There's not going to be another manga like One Piece. It's the best. It's just the best. So there's my tier list. Let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.